Hey guys, Julie here. Happy Sunday. Hope you guys are all having a great day. I have something so exciting to offer. I kind of told you a little bit about it last week, but I have worked with a friend of mine who's a graphic designer and come up with some Bible journaling tracers. So I'm going to show you guys what they look like real quick. There's 5 of them, and I'm going to Bible journal one of them today. But if you are interested in this, just comment Easter, and then as soon as I'm done, I'll go through and share the link with you. But like I said, I'm so excited. But Easter's around the corner, and so I thought I would start doing some Easter pages. And today is Luke 23, 42, and 42 through 44. And this is when Jesus is in the Garden of Gethsemane. And it says, "Father, if you are willing, remove this cup from me. Nevertheless, my will but yours be done." An angel from heaven appeared to him, strengthening him, and being in anguish, he prayed more earnestly, and his sweat became like great drops of falling blood down on the ground. So once again, the story of Easter, you know, it's not all chicks and bunnies and, what we think of Easter. But, there's a lot to it. There's a lot in the weeks leading up to, Jesus's crucifixion and resurrection, if you're a Bible believing person like myself. And so like I said, I was working with a friend of mine who's an amazing, amazing graphic designer. Um, and we came up with these designs, kind of like I said, kind of reflecting different parts of the story, kind of building up, or I don't want to say story, but the timeline building up. And so once again, these are just so, so fun. And I'm super, super excited to be sharing them with you. But I'll give you a little sneak peek. So there's the crucified hand of Jesus, the empty tomb, a beautiful cross. Kind of looks almost like a stained glass with some lilies in the background. There's, of course, the one we're doing today. And then I love this one so much. It's kind of the perspective of Jesus being on the back of the donkey as he goes into Jerusalem. So once again, those are the 5 designs. And I am doing Luke 23, 42 through 44 today. And once again, this is Jesus praying in the garden. So if you are watching and saying hi, I see a few of my friends are watching. Let me know what your weekend's looking like. Let me know what's going on with you. And I am using watercolor on this. You can use, acrylic paint. You can use colored pencil. You can use whatever you like. And I like to change it up. Sometimes I use acrylic paint. Sometimes I use colored pencils. Sometimes I use watercolor like I'm using today. So you can change it up. And actually, if you are interested in that bundle, once again, you'll get those tracers. But I also did a time lapse of me painting all of these pages. And when I did that, I did some watercolor, some acrylic, so you can be inspired by a few different ideas. But once again, I'm so excited to be offering these to you. So if you're interested, just put Easter, and I'll go back once I'm done with this and share the link with you. But I just love, we've all probably heard a good sermon preached about your will, not mine. But just, what Jesus went through for his love for us in that garden. And I don't know about you, but I've had some times where, I just feel that strain, that weight, and I can kind of sympathize, with praying and just not knowing what the outcome's going to be. But God has always been faithful and always provided. And it always goes better when I follow his plan than when I follow mine. But once again, I just put the outline into my Bible with graphite paper. If you think of like old school checkbooks. And then, and you can get a graphite paper at, you know, most arts and crafts stores, at most office supply stores. And then there's good old Amazon. um, but I love graphite paper because you can get just a little page or two and it will last you so long. So that's one of my biggest tricks with putting designs when I'm doing stuff like this and my Bible, but also when I do my paint parties on canvas. So you can definitely use that graphite paper for all kinds of stuff. But once again, if you are interested in these really, really beautiful tracers, there's the donkey Jesus kind of perspective walking into Jerusalem with all the palm branches. I'll do this one on Palm Sunday. Jesus's that sounds weird. The crucified hand of Jesus. What we celebrate on Easter, the empty tomb. And then this beautiful cross that has these lilies in the background. And then what we're doing right now, which is Jesus praying in the garden. And once again, I'm using watercolor, but I highly encourage you, get creative and use, you know, other mediums. I love to use acrylic paint. I love watercolor, which I'm using now. But it's also fun to use colored pencil. I posted pictures. Let me know if you guys saw the pictures that I posted the other day. Once a month, we have a local chapter of Adult and Teen Challenge. And so I go once a month and do some kind of art with the ladies. And lately we've been Bible journaling. And so I did a really, really fun Bible journaling project with them. And what we actually did was I took the design and printed it on vellum. And if you don't know what vellum is, it's that kind of transparent paper. So like a lot of times you'll see it like in wedding invitations, but it's a little bit see-through so you can see the image or the writing underneath. So I printed it on vellum just on my regular copier. And then using colored pencils, they colored it in just like a coloring book. And then when they put it in their Bible, because you actually glue it in as a separate page, it was so beautiful because you could still see the words coming through it. And so what I was thinking is you can do the same thing with these. So maybe I'll show you a few different examples of these as printed pages as well. So like I said, all kinds of fun. I get inspired and my brain just goes a mile a minute. But once again, I'm so excited to be sharing these with you. So I know that this is at nighttime, but I'm going to use like a dark blue. I'm going to paint this kind of the, you know, presence of God shining down. I'm going to do that in like a pearly yellow. So I think by having the rest of this kind of be darker, it'll create some nice contrast. But one thing I learned a long time ago that I thought was so interesting is that and I hope I'm saying it right, the Garden of Gethsemane, I believe is how it's pronounced. But that word Gethsemane in ancient Hebrew culture, you know, back in the olden days, you know, you couldn't just go down to Costco or your grocery store if you needed, like, let's say olive oil. So there was probably an olive oil press and a place in town that made olive oil, and then you'd go buy it from either the guy in the market or whatever. But all that to say, so in the olive oil making process, the big, huge stone that they would use for crushing, that they would smash down on all of the olives to press out all the juice. And most of the time, these were like stones that were tons upon tons. And that stone was actually called Gethsemane. And so thinking of that, you know, here's this huge stone that's used for pressing olive oil that weighs tons and tons and tons. And that's the same word as the garden where Jesus prayed. And I think that that's beautiful because to me, it kind of speaks to the weight of what Jesus was experiencing, you know, that pressure. And so I just always thought that that was such a really cool extra little layer to the story. You know, it says that he was so stressed and so he was in anguish is the actual word that's used. And, you know, just knowing that Sorry, let me readjust here real quick. You know, Jesus went through that, and he could have, you know, not had to endure that, and he put his own will aside for the will of God. I think that that's hard for us to do sometimes in our own lives, and you know, we don't have nearly as much at stake as Jesus did at this point. But you know, like I said, my plans always turn out better when I go with God's plan instead of mine. You know, I've been on this earth for 40 years, and some things I'm slow to learn, but usually if I follow God's lead, it works out way better than I could have even imagined. So it's just a nice reminder. So once again, I'm painting the background. This is just my interpretation of this design. If you do this, you can use different colors. Like I said, you can use a different medium, which is just a fancy word of, you know, how you want to create this, whether it's with watercolor like I'm using, or if you want to use acrylic paint, colored pencils. You have a ton of different options. Markers. I mean, bust out your good old Crayola crayons and use those if you want. But I just love this in watercolor. So that's how I was inspired. So once again, guys, if you are interested, just type Easter. And when I'm done, I'll go back and share that link with you. But I also did a time lapse of all of these different designs. So you guys can kind of have an inspiration. But once again, you do not have to use the same color scheme that I'm using. I see my friend Marie's watching. Hope you're doing well, my friend. It's kind of nice when I let it dry because then I can go back and catch up with what I'm doing. See my friend Terry's watching. She says hello. Hello, my friend. Terry, I'm super excited to be sharing. I have 5 Easter Bible journaling tracers to share. And so I'm Bible journaling one of them today. This is Jesus in the garden. As Jesus goes into Jerusalem, and all the Hebrews put down their blankets and the palm branches, and he rides in on a donkey. So I love this one so much because it shows like you're on the back of a donkey. The crucified hand of Jesus. What we celebrate on Easter, the empty tomb. And then this, I think this one actually is my favorite, this beautiful cross with the lilies behind. So like I said, I'm just so excited to share these with you. I actually was trying to figure out which one to do live, and I'm like, maybe I'll do this one. No, I think I want to do this one. I don't know, maybe I'll do that one. So it took me a few minutes to decide which one to even work on while on the live. But like I said, I just think it's beautiful. The Easter isn't just about Easter bunnies and, you know, chocolate eggs. And once again, these are so nice because you just have to use the graphite paper and the pencil, and you just go over, you print out your tracer, use a graphite paper, and then trace it on there, and then it's just ready for you to create. And once again, guys, I am using watercolor, but you could totally change it up and use whatever you're inspired to. You don't even have to use these same colors that I'm using. Oopsie. Some of the purple of Jesus's robe bled into the color of his face. So now he looks like he has a black eye. That's not very nice. Just kidding. Yeah, but it's really important that we remember what Jesus did for us, what we truly celebrate on Easter. I see my friend Marie says hello. Terry said he loved the cross too. Yeah, I've already done all of these designs once, so that way, like I said, I could do a time lapse for you. In the cross with the lilies, I actually used some of my pearl watercolor, so it was kind of shimmery. And I did like an iridescent on the lilies, and it turned out so cool. I'd love to come on here and share Bible journaling with you guys, but I also do it. I mean, it's my own practice. That's how I connect with God. So yes, I love doing this online and sharing it with you, but even in my own quiet time, this is one of the ways that I love to connect. And so if you've ever done Bible journaling or if you're new to Bible journaling, having the tracers just makes it so much less stress. And guys, these are beautiful. Like you could do this almost anywhere. So you could pick your favorite scripture, your favorite psalm. Some of these, once again, are going to be a little more specific on scriptures, like Jesus riding into Jerusalem. But you can use, when I did this the first time, I did it, the Isaiah, he was pierced for our transgressions. That's the scripture that I used. So once again, these I wanted to have an Easter themed kind of bundle that you could Bible journal to. But once again, I wanted to make it to where you can still, have your favorite scripture and Bible journal too. I'm just adding a little extra shading into his robe because I want to leave part of it kind of white, but I mean, he is in a garden, he's in the dirt, so it's a little shaded. Give him some hair. I'm gonna actually use a different brown. I don't want to use the same brown as the trees in the background, so we'll use a slightly different shade. See how beautiful that looks? And once again, this is Luke 23:42 through 44. And this is when Jesus is in the garden. And it says, it's when he's praying to God. And he says, Father, if you are willing, remove this cup from me. Nevertheless, not my will, but yours be done. An angel from heaven appeared to him, strengthening him. And being in anguish, he prayed more earnestly. And his sweat became like great drops of blood falling to the ground. So once again, he is in this place of anguish. But he wants God to get the glory. I think I'm going to add a little bit of brown down on the ground. And then, like I said, I'm going to switch and use my pearl watercolor. So I have, these ones are just regular, nothing fancy. And then I have another set that are pearl or iridescent, just means they are kind of shimmery, which I love everything shimmery. But I love this specifically because I want it to feel like the presence of God or that angel presence, how it talks about the angel came and strengthened him. An angel from heaven appeared to him, strengthening him. So that presence, I want it to be a really cool, like I said, just angelic. So these are my pearl watercolors. So like I said, it just means that they're kind of shiny, kind of iridescent. Let's see if I can open this up. There we go. And one question that I get sometimes, which I love, is as you paint, especially if you use watercolor, your page will probably get a little wrinkled. So what happens if it does? So after it's completely dry, what you can do is put a piece of paper or make sure there's a page between your Bible page, but you can actually use an iron, I'm sorry, wrong word, an iron on a low setting and iron your page flat. So that's a little hack, a little trick. People are like, whenever I do this, my pages is, my page gets wrinkled, and how come yours aren't? And I'm like, well, it's because I don't iron my clothes very much. Maybe I should, but I am one of those people that the clothing actually looks better before I iron it than after, because I make all kinds of weird creases and wrinkles. My poor husband, when we got married, I told him, like, I am so sorry, but if you need anything ironed, you are best to do it yourself. And luckily he had been, knows how to iron his own slacks. And so we kind of joke about that in our house. But you can, that's about the only thing I actually do use my iron for, is to iron my Bible pages. But it's just a real quick, easy hack. But once again, I just love this beautiful scene playing out and just reminds me of God, Jesus in the garden, you know, praying for God's will to be done. Not, he says, take this cup from me. If you are willing, remove it. So he's saying, God, if you can do this where there's less pain and less, you know, brutality, basically. But if not, so be it. And I'm going to probably dry this and then put a second layer, because the fun thing with the pearl is that you can actually do 2 layers and it's even more shimmery and shiny. Just letting it dry real quick. And then in the original tracer, you can see that there's all kinds of fun lines in the trees and the leaves and the rocks. You can add those or you can not. I added some of them, and I think I'm going to go back and re-emphasize some of the lines like in the bark, just to kind of add a little extra more. That's not proper English. A little more or a little extra, one or the other, details. And like I said, I want this to be customizable. You can paint yours exactly like mine, or if you want to have less detail and have it be a little more, you know, I don't want to say simple in a bad way, but more just, like the essence, the gesture. When I actually gravitate towards art, that is actually a style that I gravitate towards, which is funny because when I create art, I usually create a ton of details. So it's so funny how we sometimes will be attracted to what you know, is not innate or accustomed to us. And for me, like I said, whenever I do anything painting or drawing, I don't want to say kill it with details, but um, just keep adding and keep adding and keep adding. And then when I go to like an art gallery or a museum, and I'm automatically drawn to the very, you know, gesture sketch, kind of just simplistic art. So it's so funny how, like I said, even, you know, I'm short and have brown hair, so that means I want to be tall and have blonde hair. We always want to be the opposite of what we are. I don't know if that's true, but at least I have found that when I gravitate towards looking at art, that it's quite opposite to what I naturally would create. So I think that that's just so funny. And like I said, I'm just coming in here and adding some extra details in the trees. Totally optional. I'm actually kind of adding extra wherever seems fun. And once again, kind of come back here around the tree. If I want, I can go back over those squiggly little lines in the bark, kind of create some extra texture and dimension. But once again, it's totally up to you on how much extra details you want to add. I see I got a little glop on my pen. Ah, there we go. Of course, I'm going to go back and redefine some of Jesus's face and get his features a little bit better. But once again, this is our page for Luke 23:42 through 44. And this is Jesus in the garden as he's praying. And once again, I hope that it shows up on camera, but like this is just so beautiful and shiny and iridescent. It looks so cool in person. I'm humble, aren't I? But once again, Luke 23:42 through 44. And this is Jesus praying in the garden. And it says, Father, if you are willing, remove this cup from me. Nevertheless, not my will, but yours be done. An angel from heaven appeared to him, strengthening him. And being in anguish, he prayed more earnestly, and his sweat became like great drops of blood falling down to the ground. So once again, guys, if you are interested in these fun Easter tracers. I have a pack of 5. So there's Jesus praying, which we just did. The reason for the season, why we actually celebrate Easter, is the empty tomb. And I'll probably do this on Easter. This beautiful cross that has these nice lilies in the background. Jesus as he's going into Jerusalem on the back of a donkey. And I think that's so cute. And then there is the pierced hand. So once again, guys, all of those super fun. And I have time lapse to go along with them. So I hope you're having a wonderful Sunday fun day. I hope this has inspired you, and I can't wait to see what you guys create. So we'll talk to you later. And once again, I hope you guys are having a wonderful weekend and paint something fun.